Hey everybody, this is Sterling McGarvey, and I'm here with
Greg Hutto from Reverb.
And Doug Perry from Reverb.
And we're checking out Pid. Now, Pid is a platformer. It looks like you were using shafts of light to navigate the levels.
Yeah, it starts with this kid named Kurt, and he takes a bus ride and falls asleep and ends up on a planet that he's not familiar with. And from there, he finds these balls of light that give him gravity beams in each hand. So he has two beams, and they're kind of tractor beams that he uses to navigate through this strange territory. And as you see there, this is a little bit later in the game, where people find the rhythm and they start using the beams more and more often and becoming familiar. And then they get this slingshot here to assist and not just kind of toss them, but direct them. And the cool thing about the beams, as you'll see now, is you can shift from side to side within them, and then also resist them, so it makes you go slower, so that you can avoid things that spike beams or spike pits that may be getting past you.
Yeah.
And if you need to get somewhere really fast, you can go with the beam and travel higher and faster.
Nice. So the team is Might or Matter?
Might and Delight.
Might and Delight. I'm sorry.
They're formed from previous members of Grin, and as well as Dice. And they came together to make their own game independently that they're publishing on PSN and PC, and with the help of D3, they're bringing it also to XBLA.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I know Grin worked on Bionic Commando Rearm, so there's obviously some platforming elements they're experienced with. Sure.
Definitely. Yeah, they're all old school fans of platformers, so the game is actually deceptively difficult. I tried my best to run through it, but this is definitely a game that you kind of have to get in the rhythm of. As you'll see right here too, there's these crosshairs that kind of line in, and once they both come together, the beams quit. So you'll find that if you're always in motion, you definitely have to be decisive and quick on your feet to make it work out, or you can cancel the beams with B.
Oh, nice.
And these stars that I'm picking up are actually kind of like a currency. They allow you to spend money on, or your stars on items, which we'll get into a little bit more later. But this is definitely one of the more platformy puzzle areas of the game here. And definitely some tricky spots for catching stars. Like I said, if you just push up a little bit, you can kind of ride the high of the arcs there, and then kind of use it to level out and make your way up.
So his jumping ability is not very strong then?
Not so much in the beam if he has nothing to jump off of, but kind of like akin to other old school. The longer you hold jump, the more he jumps.
Okay.
But, and he has a nice little extension, so you see that beam ending, and there's actually a little bit more of there's a little bit more space there that he can use to jump, and he can jump out of those beams as well.
Okay.
And this is one of those tricky portions where you're kind of always in a beam.
Yeah.
And these red spikes you can actually plant beams on top of. But later sections you'll see that there are blue spike pits, and you cannot actually plant a beam inside of them.
So when we're talking about old school kind of platformers, you have one life. So, if you die on those red spikes, you're just dead, and you have to start over again.
Right. But to show you once, I'm also wearing a vest.
Oof.
The vest gives you, a second life.
So in this section, you'll see these red spikes here, and you actually you can plant your beams inside of them, but you have to obviously avoid them, unlike that I was able to do there.
Bad things will happen.
If they're blue, you can't actually plant a beam inside of them. But this section, you're always moving, and you always have to be decisive and put a beam down, because you get to a point where you just get stuck and there's no way you can jump off without dying. And right now, just to show you, I'm wearing the vest, which will allow you to take one hit, and then after that, you can only take one more. So in the case of the spike pits, if you take one hit, you're probably not going to walk away from it, because they'll probably just fall right back on them. but there are definitely times where you get lucky.
If you do get lucky, do you regenerate anything, or is it just kind of like after that you're done?
Yeah, after you lose a vest, you have to wait before you find the next one. You'll see just slightly above us right now is that station where I can buy another one. And for example, if I didn't have one on already, or maybe I don't. No, I do. You can, for 100 stars, you can buy another vest.
Okay.
And like I said, it's just the trickiest part about this area is you're never hardly ever are you actually on the ground. So that's definitely one of my favorite parts. Every level has kind of its own hook, whether it be a level where you're heavily using items or where they change the physics of the game. Every territory is a little bit different. And
one of the things that Greg's doing right now is he only has the ability to use 2. So you can't use more than 2 at a time. So he's canceling them. So when you see one automatically disappear, it's because he's pressing B and he's canceling it so he can use it again, because you can only use 2 at a time.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to confuse yourself with too much on the screen. And we'll see if I don't know if I can pull this off, but we'll see if I can get those under there too.
We're gonna see. I'm getting knots in my stomach just watching it.
Yeah, this is after a lot of playing. It's deceptively difficult. It's a very charming game, but jumping into it thinking you can just kind of run and play it is perhaps futile. But these constellations that we're seeing are pretty basic ones, but there are actually some more advanced ones in hidden areas, which I'm kind of skipping here because it's just hard enough to make it through the game.
And this is the case where Greg's actually, moving himself up and down through the beam so he doesn't hit those red spikes.
Yeah, just barely. But if you find some of the more advanced constellations, the game will track your progress, and this game can be anywhere from 6 hours to sometimes 12 if you're really on the hunt and exploring.
Right now, this also supports co-op, correct?
Correct. Right now I have 2 beams, but there becomes a point where if you play with Audrey, your co-op partner, she gets one of your beams, which makes the game actually more difficult because it's far more about communications. And it's kind of funny. You can kind of play tricks on your partner if you'd like, but it's really tricky that way. Now, the first item that I'm going to show you is actually the burst beam. And it's the same as your beam, but it's just more instantaneous and it shoots you a lot higher. So if you point it directly at the ground, it shoots you up like that. It gets you to spots that you normally can't get to. And this is an example right here of an inventory station that actually gives you the items for free, which isn't necessarily common, but it gives you an opportunity to, if you're low on stars, do some more exploring. The game definitely wants to reward and encourage that. But when you get here, for example, you might have to pay 50 stars to do it. In this particular level, the higher you end up going, the more exciting things that you'll find. So I'm definitely trying to get to those higher platforms. These light blocks here, if I were to throw a gravity beam at them, they would actually break down. Which in some cases is a good thing. Like if you need to get through them. I lost my opportunity there.
Like if they're in your way, for instance, you need to break them down.
But then sometimes they're also your platforms, so you have to be clever in the way that you decide to get rid of things. And what you just saw there is some robots have on top of their head a funnel, and anything yellow is kind of contextual. So in this context, throwing a beam inside their funnel, if you get it just close enough, will destroy them. And because these guys are red, these guys are also affected by gravity.
So you can really mess with them.
Exactly. Oop. And you'll also see that they're not only not only are they affected by gravity, but also their rockets. Some of them shoot as well. Whereas you have blue guys like this who you cannot affect with gravity.
So I know you kind of talked about the play length and maybe about how long it would take for somebody starting out, but how many different environments is it touting?
There's about 20 different environments, and they're all, some of them are, which you'll see later, are even more dynamic than others. The game does a pretty good job at giving people checkpoints and forgiving them of that kind of stuff. Let's see here. So, for example, if I was trying to get through there, sometimes I can slow down the rockets, being that they're red, by dropping a beam there.
So there's a little foreshadowing there. There's the Mr. like, I guess he's called the Spook or
the Crook, yeah.
The Crook.
Mm-hmm. He's
a giant balloon head, and you'll fight him later on.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. Right now I'm going to equip a bomb, and these ones, because they're blue, are just kind of instantaneous. Whatever you whatever you throw them at is what they destroy. But then I'll show you the red bombs, which are timed. And everything you map to the left or right trigger, you just basically go over it in your inventory and then use the trigger that you'd like to map it to. Let's see here. So, for example, we can throw a beam in there, and as you see, there's a guy stuck up there. You just throw a red bomb up there with a timer on it.
It just takes him right out.
There you go. He's not a problem anymore. Unfortunately, that box particularly respawns over and over again, so you're not doing yourself as much good as you'd like.
And then that strange wooden creature over there is a citizen that you can have conversations with. They might fill you in with some information.
The story is very obscure and definitely clever and strange, so you never get quite as much information as you'd probably like. But let's see here. We can pick this guy up, and I think it'll come back, and I can drop him in the spikes. There you go.
All right.
And sometimes you can even get them to attack their own by tricking somebody into throwing a rocket right at you. Oh, just barely. And to do a little bit of backtracking here, there's a light box where you can throw the beam directly into it. And it opens up different platforms here. And then more contextual things here to give you opportunities to find new things. And these blocks right here are blue, so you actually can't drop your beam on them. And then, for example, like right here, one of the best things to do is to use that burst beam that I was showing you guys earlier. Mm-hmm. And then here's one of those secret constellations I was telling you about. And again, it'll keep track of that and kind of tally your score. And you'll know they're secret because they'll be yellow. And there is no fall damage, which is, in my opinion, a really smart choice. It allows you to, explore more creatively and not worry so much. Obviously falling into an endless pit is definitely not what you want to end up doing. But otherwise, it's pretty understanding and forgiving. Nope. And that was an example of just barely making it by with my, let's see here. I might be screwed this time. Yep.
Oh no, you didn't hit a spike.
And as you hear the music here, one of the cool things about the music is that the team had concept renders that they showed their friends at Retro Family, Abandoned Sweden. Oops. And they showed them the, good, a checkpoint. They showed them these concept renders, and they said, what can you make that's evocative of this? Which they were a bit perplexed by at first, but it turns out the game wasn't even started being built yet. So that's all they really had. And, luckily they did a fantastic job of putting it together. Everything has its own kind of mood, and, whether it be jazz or, there's some kind of haunting songs, and it really came together nicely. And this whole rooftop section is actually pretty inspired itself, too. It's their view outside their office from their Stockholm, Sweden office. And what did you say it was like, Perry? It was like watching Pinocchio?
I said this is they live basically in fairy tale land where Pinocchio and Sleeping Beauty live.
Yeah. And the game is definitely simple in design, but just sometimes managing all the chaos that's going on that really is trying.
Yeah, so it's going to get really chaotic and really intense very soon.
So and again, these guys up here are red, so he kind of got stuck in my tractor
awesome.
beam.
Let's see how many you can hit.
All right, took him out.
Oh, I might be still. There we go. Just barely made it. I had to use my vest, but luckily taking them out gave me another one, so I'm good to go. This section right here is the last part section, and everything is dynamically different. Basically, you're at this theater and you want to avoid disturbing anyone as you find a guy who knows more about the powers that you have. And we'll equip 2 different items. We'll show you later. So you have to avoid these spotlights, because if the patrons of the theater see you, you're done. Let's see.
This is one of the later stages of the game, then?
Yeah, correct. Most of what we're showing you is from about the middle third.
Okay. And
right here I have a smoke bomb, I'll hide right behind these rocks here at first. Another cool thing about the game is that most of the objects aren't actually 3D. There are dynamic layers of 2D moving at different paces, so that it seems as if it's 3D. But the enemies and Kurt himself are definitely 3D. And as you can hear too, everything has its own kind of theme song. And I'm gonna throw a smoke bomb, and when I'm in the smoke bomb, the spotlights can't see me.
Or kill him.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you could actually throw down a smoke bomb and an enemy can walk right through you and you won't be damaged at all. Or step on spikes, for instance.
So how close to proximity does the light have to be for it to be fatal?
If it catches you, you're done.
Nope, that's it. Okay, there's the answer.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was just that fraction of a hairline or something like that.
There is some little tricky sections where you like if you get in it and jump out right at the last second, you can make it, but it's not very forgiving.
Okay.
I don't know if that's something you can actually make happen. Oh, okay. So that was an interesting way. You could have gone through that a completely different way.
Yeah. That
last light at the end, he could have actually used one of the light beams to turn upward, and that way he could have gone through.
And we'll show you one last item here. As we kind of... So we'll run through this. I'm pretty decent at speedrunning this. This is another cool part just because it has that crazy rock music. And
crazy rock music.
Yeah. The music those darn kids listen to. This is a section where if you actually go for the lower road as opposed to the rooftops, you can find some more exciting and interesting things.
Just looks insanely intense. I'm watching you.
He's really good at it.
Yeah, I play way too much. I think this should be coming up to the cowboy section here. Yep. So the last thing I want to show you is the music box. And by putting out a music box, you can still be hurt, but it stops every robot in their tracks.
They're mesmerized by the music. Because they're robots.
Yeah.
It's like its own Groovatron.
Oh, this I don't even know if this is the last section. I don't even know if I can do it again. I did it once today, and
Can we just call this the disco level?
Yeah. It took like everything I had just to make sure I'd go. Oh, just barely. See, it's as you can see, it's a little bit. There we go. A little forgiving.
Wow. Nicely done. That was really hard, actually, the level.
And the last fun fact is that this scene here is. Eventually you'll hear some singing, and it's the managing director's voice. She actually wrote a song and then used Google Translate to find the Italian lyrics of her song and sang it through autotune.
Wow.
And this last section is where you have to find the guy you've been looking for, and you still can't disturb anyone or else they get very upset.
And it ends the level.
But he explains that it's a tall man, but not the tallest, with binoculars, and cries as he's watching and can't keep his feet still. So I'm pretty sure it's this guy right here. Oh, maybe not. But in any case, that's the end of our demo.
All right. So this is coming out when?
We're shooting for sometime in September, maybe October.
Okay, and it's on PC, PS3, XBLA?
Correct.
All right, that's what we can look forward to. Thanks for your time, gentlemen, and be sure to stay tuned for more coverage of PID on GamesRadar.com. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.